Hey gang, Stephen Marshall, KYLandlordlaw.com. Hope you're doing well as we close out 2020 and head into 2021. I wanted to give an update on where things stand as we begin our new year. As most of you know, Congress passed and the President signed a new COVID relief package last week. And while the details of individual payments are still a bit fluid, here's what we know about the rental issues in the package. And I'm going to start with the bad news, and it's what we all expected. The CDC eviction moratorium has been extended through January 31st, 2021. This means that any eviction cases that were continued from 2020 into January 2021 will likely be kicked back into February and beyond. And beyond that, it's almost certain that President-elect Biden, when he takes office on January 20th, his administration will extend the moratorium beyond January 31st. And I don't think we should expect the moratorium to end until late spring at the earliest. So I think we just need to buckle up and get ready for that and plan for that. That's the bad news. The good news is that this package includes $25 billion in rental assistance, and those funds are to be made available to state and local governments within 30 days. Governor Beshear has announced that Kentucky is set to get just under $300 million of those rental assistance funds. So, in order to qualify for the funds, a tenant has to meet three criteria. They have to have a household income that is no more than 80% of the area median income. I've done some digging, and it looks like Lexington's AMI is around $55,000 a year. So tenants who make less than $44,000 or less, roughly, would qualify for assistance. The second criteria they have to meet is that they have to have at least one household member who can demonstrate a risk of homelessness or housing stability, and anyone who's up for eviction theoretically is going to qualify for that. And then finally, they have to have at least one household member who qualifies for unemployment benefits or who experienced financial hardship due to the pandemic. Those are the three qualifying criteria to receive rental assistance. Now, of those who qualify, each state is to give priority to two groups of tenants. Those whose incomes are 50% of the area median income or less, which is, again, roughly going to be about $27,500, and those tenants who are currently unemployed and have been so for 90 days or more. Tenants in either of those two groups are going to receive priority in getting assistance. Okay, so if you have tenants who fall or may fall in that range, you really need to encourage them to apply for this assistance. It's my expectation that these funds are going to be distributed through the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund website, and I'll have the link to that site in the blog post that accompanies this video. But that hasn't been firmed up yet. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how that shakes down. But we're going to have significantly more money for rental assistance. This fall, we got $15 million, and that was used up fairly quickly. This time, we're going to have a little under $300 million. So it makes a lot of sense for landlords and tenants to apply for this assistance. And in fact, hopefully you know that any tenant who signs the CDC form to receive eviction protection must apply for all available rental assistance. And I'll try to pass along more details on the assistance program as they develop. So next thing I want to talk about is evictions during January. If you filed an eviction between September 4th and the end of the year and your tenant signed a CDC form, your eviction case may have gotten kicked to a January eviction docket. Those cases, as I mentioned earlier, will probably get pushed back into February and beyond. However, if during this time period that your tenant has not sought rental assistance, you can and should bring that to the attention of your judge at your next court date. It may be grounds for a finding that the tenant doesn't qualify for protection under the CDC moratorium. Now, Whether judges are going to be willing to make that finding, I don't know. But I do know that the CDC has made it clear that judges may look into the truthfulness of the tenant's signing of that declaration. And at this point, tenants have had plenty of time to seek rental assistance. And if they haven't done so, then I think there's a very good argument that the CDC eviction moratorium does not protect them and that they should be evicted. So if that's the case with your tenant, make sure that you bring it up to the judge at your January or February court date. Couple of other reminders just in case they've slipped through during the passage of time. CARES Act properties. Still required to give a 30-day notice prior to filing an eviction. The Kentucky Supreme Court issued a more recent order, which I will link in the blog post that accompanies this video, that again makes it clear you have to give a 30-day notice to pay or vacate prior to filing an eviction for non-payment of rent. If you're filing an eviction for other reasons, a shorter notice may be allowed. Our eviction process. All eviction hearings in Kentucky are still being done remotely. My last article had some tips on using Zoom effectively for evictions. You may want to check that out. But I want to reiterate, if you have a non-payment of rent case right now, the tenant is going to get a 2-week continuance at least if they appear in court the first time. Okay, this is required by the Kentucky Supreme Court order that I mentioned earlier. Okay, an automatic 2-week continuance if they show up for their court appearance. I strongly encourage you to put a sentence in your notices to pay or vacate that provides the tenant with the Zoom link for the court hearing, or gives them the phone number to call where they can obtain that Zoom link. Okay. Putting that in your notice may save you from having your case continued for an additional week or more. Okay, so time is of the essence. Let's put that in our notices. And then finally, late fees. Just to be clear, late fees are allowed to be charged at all properties in Kentucky with one exception. If you're a CARES Act property, you may not charge late fees on rent that accrued between March 27th and July 25th of 2020. That's the only limitation. Other than that, all late fees may be charged. Back towards the end of August, the governor issued an executive order that prohibited late fees from being charged between March 6th and December 31st, but 4 or 5 days later, he rescinded that order. Okay, that's not been in effect since early September. Okay, so you may charge late fees unless you're a CARES Act property, and even then the only restriction is that it can't be on rent that accrued between March 27th and July 25th of 2020. Beyond that, everybody can charge late fees. I think that's the end of my updates. Just in closing, I want to thank you all for working with me. It has been a joy and an honor, regardless of anything else that happened in 2020. And we can all agree it's been a very unusual, a historically unusual year. And I just want to remind you in closing that we control our own happiness. And because that's true, 2020 has been a good year. And I expect 2021 to be the same. Hope you all have a wonderful new year. As always, be sure to reach out to me, smarshall@trippleslaw.com, or here at the office, 859-685-0035. Have a fantastic new year. I'll see you on the other side.